Hello everyone. In this question, we will discuss the scatter plot. Here is the scatter plot. We call it scatter plot because this diagram or this figure is composed of points, but as you see, the points are not connected with each other. So they are disconnected points, but there is a meaning for these points together. What is the meaning? How can we interpret this figure, this scatter plot? This is exactly the topic for this meeting. So we can go through the question after we look at the graph carefully. So the graph is a correlation. So we need to use this word correlation between or relationship between the time in HRS, which is hours, and the candle height in centimeter. So we can see that we have different points here. So we call it, as I said, scatter plot. So the question is exactly the scatter plot shows the height of a candle as it burns. Which statement is true for a scatter plot? First, let's go through the options quickly. So the first option, there is a correlation between the height of the candle and the number of hours burned is positive. You can see the second one is the correlation between. So the same sentence, but you can find negative instead of positive. So here is positive, here is negative. Now, you can see here either the correlation between the height, etc. It is the same sentence, but we have here negative. So the correlation here is positive, the correlation is negative, the correlation is negative, and here the correlation is negative. So let's study first the correlation, and then we can go back to the question. So when we study the correlation, most of the time we should start from left going to the right. That's mean we should start from left, as I said, going to the right. So I should start with this point, and this point is 12 as the height, and here is 10. But before we keep going with the height, let's go with the time. So exactly what we have is something like this. So we can see that from left, which is like 0 for this point, and for this point the time is 1, the time is 2, time is 3, times is 4, times is 5, and finally times is 7. So we're going from 0 to 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the time is increasing. Remember that time increasing. I will go back to this. Okay, so now in this case, when we are studying the time, we said that the time is increasing, but at the same time, let me choose this one. So, okay, if the time is 0, okay, if the time is 0, that means the height is 12. If the time is 1, the height is 10. If the time is 2, so the height almost here, almost 9. And if the time is 3, so the height is 6. If the time is 4, so the height is about 5. If the time is 5, so the height is almost 3. If the time is 6, so the height is equal to 1. So if I make it more clear, so I can see that the points will be something like this: 12, and then 10, 9, 6, 5, 3, and 1. So going from 12 to 1, that means the height is decreasing. So remember that the height is decreasing, but the time is increasing. We don't need this. So let's go back to the question. That's mean exactly based on that, if I want to check the answers, so I can neglect A immediately because A is positive correlation. So the answer could be B, C, or D. Now, let's talk about like B. If we concentrate on B, we can see that the second part of the sentence or the option, because both X and Y decreases. Okay, let's check this. We said that the time increase and the height decrease, so they are opposite. So they are not in the same direction as decrease. So this does not mean when the time increase and the height decrease, that does not mean they are in the same direction. They are in the opposite direction. So that means they will not never in this never ever in this case being at the same direction. So B is not the right answer. So now we neglect A and we neglect B. What's about C, the option C? He said, the question said, because the Y value decrease as X value increase. So this is exactly what we found. We found that when the time, so the X value, which is the time, I need to mention this, so to concentrate on this. So the X value is the time and the Y value is the height. So as the X or the time increase, I see that the Y value or the height decrease. And this is exactly the right answer. We will keep going, checking with the last option. And here said, because the y-axis increase as the x value decrease. And here is the problem with this. The x value decrease. The time will not go back. The time is keep going, continuous. You cannot take the time back. So this option logically cannot be accepted. So the right answer will be C. Let us check this answer. So that's exactly the right answer. Thank you for watching and hope you get the idea, and we can meet again in another videos. See you later.